As the board and administrators take their place at the dais, it is now time for the regular public meeting of the Howell Township Board of Education to come to order. I will take a quick roll call, then some comments from Mr. O'Brien. Mrs. DePompo. Here. Thank you. Mr. Garman.
Present.
We are expecting Dr. Lowe to appear on the screen any minute. Mrs. Mangano.
Here.
Mrs. Malley.
Here.
From jolly old England. Thank you. Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Moretti is on his way. Mr. Bongiovanni.
Present.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
A quorum is present. Shall we rise to salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As mentioned, request to change the order of the day. Mr. O'Brien, a brief
Yes.
comment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sanisek. As an explanation of the rather unusual circumstances around this meeting, we had certain board business which required a quorum, and because of circumstances, we requested and received the cooperation of our traveling board members who are joining us tonight via Skype, I believe. Zoom.
I think
Okay,
it's
Zoom.
called.
Thank you. All right. And we appreciate very much their time and sacrifice out of their personal time away to come back and assist us in conducting this important business. Tonight we'll be moving the business up in respect to the circumstances, so we will be holding a public comment prior to conducting business, but we are changing the order of the meeting now. So with that, that's it for the moment. Let's continue.
Thank you. With that changing the order of the day, it is now time for the first public comment. Whereas the Howell Township Board of Education determines that comments from the public may last 45 minutes, and those comments will be conducted in accordance with its bylaw 0164.1. Individuals may be limited to 3 minutes each. The officer with respect to time and decorum will be the President of the Board, Mr. Timothy O'Brien. With your permission, may the floor be open, sir.
Please.
Are there comments at this time?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, may the floor be closed, sir.
Okay, very good.
At this time, may
We,
we take the consent agenda?
yes, please, let's take it around.
Mover and seconder, please.
Do I have a mover for the? Okay. Moved by Miss Malley, seconded
And
by
that-
Mr. Pompo. Miss Malley, mover, and seconder, Mr.
That's
Pompo.
perfect. May we include A1, the addenda, which was emailed to you?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Please note the read-in on 4002, add the words pending approval of criminal history background to 4002. With that being said, may I take it around, sir?
Mr. Sanisek?
Yes.
Did you have that one item I asked to have pulled from the 3000 series? I'm trying to look for the number right now.
Thank you. 3017, I believe.
17? No.
Ms. Calendar, was there another one being pulled?
16.
16, thank you, sir. 3016, and that was pulled to discussion post-vote, not exec, correct?
To executive.
To exec, 3016 to exec. Ms. Calendar, did you have one, or was that cleared up? No. Okay. On the consent agenda and the one addenda item, with the exception of 3016, move to executive session. May I take that around, sir?
Please do.
Mrs. Malley?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. DePompo? Yes. Mr. Gurman?
Yes, with the following alterations. I will absent myself from 3002, 3003, 3004, 3005, 3006, 3007, 3032, and 6001.
Thank you, sir. Has Dr. Lowe joined us yet? No. Mrs. Mangano?
Yes to all except abstain from 5010 and absent from 3005.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Moretti? Oh, I'm sorry, he did not arrive yet. He is on his way. I apologize. Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes, except I also
Absent?
absent myself on 3002, 3003, 3004, 3005, 3006, 3007, 3032, and 6001.
Thank you, sir. Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
The consent agenda is approved. 7 votes in favor, none opposed, with the abstentions and abstentions noted for the record. With your permission, sir, may we go back to the regular order of the day?
Please.
It is now time for well, we can't do student recognitions. They were scheduled for 7 o'clock, so we will go to the minutes. May I have a mover and second on the minutes?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Bongiovanni, second by Mr. Miller. Mr. O'Brien, may I take that around?
Please do.
Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. DePompo. Yes. Mr. Gurman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mangano,
Yes.
Mrs. Malley.
Yes.
This is on the regular minutes. Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
thank you. The correspondence that the board has received will be noted for the record. It is now time for the regular board president's comments.
Thank you. Tonight, we have an unusual circumstance where we're utilizing technology to leverage the ability of our,
Dr.
oh,
Lowe is
and Dr. Lowe, welcome.
Hello, Dr. Lowe. Hello, how are you? Good, thank you.
We just concluded the business of the consent agenda and addenda. Is it possible to have Dr. Lowe add her vote in and post that, or is that something that we,
Yes.
is it possible for Dr. Lowe to include her vote?
No, that would be fine. Dr. Lowe, we had one vote on the consent agenda, including the one addenda item that was emailed, with the exception of 3000-16, which was pulled to executive session. Would you like to vote in the affirmative on those, or any special vote?
Thank you, Dr. Lowe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll amend the record of the vote to include Dr. Lowe's affirmative.
And we voted on the minutes? Yes. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Great.
Back to board president comments, sir.
Thank you. Again, as I was saying, we have an unusual circumstance where we're utilizing technology, as I was told, Zoom, to bring our hardworking board members who are traveling in, and we very much appreciate their sacrifice and their commitment to this board. Thank you. Tonight we had some important items of business to address prior to bringing in our students for their recognition. Let me set the stage. Just recently, we have tonight, approved the contracts for our professionals as well as our leadership team here, and I'm very pleased to report that we were successful in negotiating a new 5-year contract with our superintendent. It is a commitment by him and by this board to the continued pursuit of excellence in our district. We have recently been given the opportunity to address a situation that has long been a problem for many districts across this state. Years ago, during a financial crisis, there was an effort by legislators to put a cap, an artificial constraint on the compensation for our educational leadership in this state. As I've said before, and I've been on record many times, I am not in favor, and I don't believe anyone in this board is in favor of artificial caps, which then created situations that were unintended, as many legislative efforts often do. So we saw over the years an issue where our superintendent was capped, but there was a system where we would apply various merit goals to allow the superintendent to achieve above and beyond our strategic plan, and by doing so, that was an element of compensation as well. Over the years, we have seen that operate successfully, but we were very pleased to see the cap being lifted to a new level, which we thought was commensurate with the responsibilities and the achievements of our superintendent. And the board was united in its support. Those members who could support it were united in their support of engaging the superintendent in a new 5-year contract and raising him to the current cap, which we voted on tonight. And it's an important recognition of the superintendent's efforts and success in helping us to build on an already very, very successful district, going through an extremely challenging period of time where many challenges were laid at the feet of his team, and he stepped up and delivered. Also, it addresses an inequity in terms of compensation for our leadership and keeps us in parity with the rest of the districts in our region and area, and that is, of course, very important. We wanted to be able to ensure the same successful leadership and creative capabilities of both Mr. Isola and his team for many years to come. So this is a very big plus, and we're very proud of that, and we're pleased that we were able to approve that tonight for our superintendent. With that, I'm going to then turn it over to our superintendent for his remarks, and looking forward to student recognition coming in at 7 o'clock. And I also want to thank Mr. Moretti for coming over tonight. We very much appreciate it. I have to tell you something. I'm very proud of our board. They really do step up when we need them.
As needed.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Moretti.
Mr. O'Brien, with your permission, I would like to suggest changing the order one more time. And because we have time before the students come in, and Mr. Isola's report would be more appropriate when they were here to hear it.
Absolutely.
Could we convene to exec and take care of that business? And then we can go on with the evening.
Excellent suggestion. I need a motion to go into exec.
Make the motion.
One second, Jim, I'm sorry. Mr. Moretti, I apologize.
No. So, for the record, Mr. Wooters, just because of the uniqueness of the way we're conducting this, note that Mr. DePompo has left the meeting, and that as we adjourn to exec, we will not be able to continue with Dr. Lowe and Ms. Malley. And we thank you, but I'm sure you're not going to sit here and look in an empty room, so you'll be going about the good business that you're on at this time. So they will be leaving the meeting as well. And with that, we can go to executive session with a motion.
Make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Moretti.
Second.
The topics this evening for our executive session will be the HIB report, as usual, and also a review of a student, a settlement on a settlement agreement with a student.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Very much appreciate. And have a great night and safe travels. We'll see you at the next
Yes.
meeting.
Be
Bye-bye.
safe.
And 3,000.
And in 2016, the item moved to exec will also be in exec this evening.
Items of business, and then we're going to get to the recognitions.
Okay. Thank you. The board is back in session. As the board members make their way to the dais, we have a need for 3 items. If I may read them in and then get a mover, it will be the executive session minutes, the item that was moved to executive 3016, returned to the table, and approve an agreement of settlement. And I have to read it from my email if you give me a brief minute. Approve the settlement agreement between the Howell Township Board of Education and CM and MM on behalf of RM as presented in executive session this evening. Those 3 items, may I have a mover and seconder, Mr. President?
Yes. May I get a motion to approve?
Make motion. Second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Moretti, second by Mr. Miller.
Thank you. May I take those 3 items around?
Please.
Mr. Moretti?
Yes.
Mr. Miller? Yes. Mr. Gurman?
Yes.
Mrs. Mangano?
Abstain.
Absent.
Absent.
Thank you, Ms. Mangano.
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Those three items are approved, 5 votes in favor, none opposed.
Okay.
And one absent from the vote.
Thank you.
It is now I believe, Mr. Moretti, you have to,
If you don't mind.
yes.
Mr. Moretti, thank you for coming out tonight and assisting us in conducting our business. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. For this board, anything. Didn't do anything for you but give you a bag of hundreds.
Okay. You can leave half a bag, I'll take it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry I have to leave.
May
Very
we,
much appreciated.
Take care, guys.
Jim, be well, be careful.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for that.
I believe at this time, we will go back to the beginning order of the day
Yes.
for the board president and superintendent's comments on student recognitions.
One of
Mr.
our,
Isola, is that
yeah,
accurate?
I believe so. Mr. Isola, because I did make some comments earlier, I will be very happy to turn it over to you for our favorite part of this board meeting.
Sure. This evening is certainly a great night whenever we take the opportunity to recognize some of our students. Also recognizing that it is post-graduation, so unfortunately, the turnout isn't as full as it usually is when we take the opportunity to recognize, but we'll be sure to send the certificate to every single student that participated in these great accomplishments, and certainly take the time to recognize those students that were able to be with us here this evening. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Preston to spearhead our student recognition portion of the evening. Thank you, Mr. Preston.
Thank you, Mr. Isola, Mr. Board President. As always, we have another night full of pride and distinction for the Howell Township Public Schools, even after the school year ends. I won't go into great description. I'll save that for those that are representing and providing those certificates to the students, both tonight for those that were able to be here, and for those once they're back in school. So I'm going to ask tonight, I believe we have, I just want to double check for the attendance. Do we have any middle school North students that are able to be here for the academic bowl? Yes, we do. Okay. So I'm going to ask that both Dr. Hennig and Mr. Fury come up to the microphone. And I'm going to ask that Dr. Hennig share the description here for the academic bowl to get us going, and then we'll bring down the students.
And Mr. Preston, I'd like Mr. Gurman and Mr. Miller to join them at the dais.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
For the board, thank you.
Dr. Hennig, I turn it over to you.
Competition was held at Yates Middle School in Jackson. 20 schools from Monmouth and Ocean County competed, and top 3 teams at each grade level received trophies. So we're going to hold down the South students. The 7th grade team at South took first place. If your names called, come on down. Beta Wallach, Ruth Daly, Caleb Melendez, Brendan Morgan, Christopher Mitchell, and Mason Weiss.
That is a nice showing. We'll ask that they all stay down, then we'll get North up here.
The 8th grade team was able to place second. They were represented by Thomas Panzera, Eliza Laterman, Rebecca Mazik, Andrew Wolf, Austin Pierce, and Aaron Brady. Congratulations.
Short. Thanks, Bob. I would like to recognize the Middle School North first place recipients: Josh Verez, Kelly Turano, Aiden Szymanski, Abigail Simmons, and Dylan Serenov.
It's an iPhone commercial.
That would be, believe it or not, me and Mr. Bongiovanni will be coming up.
Microphone over to Mr. Fury, who's going to share with us some of our wonderful athletic accolades that we've been able to achieve.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the Board of Education and Central Office for providing this opportunity to recognize our spring sports Monmouth County champions. I'd also like to thank the coaches, even though they could not be here, for their hard work, our parents for entrusting us with their children, and of course, the student athletes that we're going to recognize this evening. The first recognition is going to be the North Track and Field. I would like to call down Isabella Frank and Michael Nassif if they are here. I'm going to read that now. Isabella Frank started off high jumping when she was in 6th grade. Each year, with hard work and dedication, from her form improved and her jumps were higher and higher as she was determined to break our school record at North, which was set by her sister years before. As this year's spring season progressed, Isabella broke the school record and then broke her own record as the season came to a close. To help top off her 8th grade year, she became the Monmouth County high jump champion at the Monmouth County Track and Field All-Star Meet. Michael Nassif. Michael Nassif, even though he's not here, it was his first year high jumping, and with his commitment to the event, he quickly picked up the technique. Besides taking first place regularly during season meets, he also became the county high jump champion for Monmouth County All-Star Meet. Ms. Raleigh is so proud of their achievement and wishes them both success in their high school years.
See you do that.
Well done. Great job, Isabella.
You gotta wait for Mr. Preston. No, out.
At this time, I'm going to recognize the South Track and Field. If I could have Trevor Cornell, Vera Agamang, and Matthew Bogdan up to the stage. Or podium. All right. They are not here, but just to recognize them, their accomplishments. Trevor placed first for boys long jump with 15 feet 6 inches. Vera placed first for girls discus with 84 feet 6 inches. And Matthew Bogdan came in first for Monmouth County in 2 events. The 800 meter, in which he did it in 2 minutes and 26 seconds, and the 1600 meter, in which he did in 5 minutes and 2 seconds. He also broke the 5-minute mark against Manalapan this year with 4 minutes and 58 seconds. So a great accomplishment by all of them. And last, if we have any students here for the South softball team, please come on up. All right, sorry to hear that, but once again, Howell South softball lost their first game of the season, and from that point, they never looked back. Going undefeated for the rest of the season, the Huskies became the Monmouth County 2017 Monmouth County softball champs. Congratulations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you both for coming up and presenting and representing our schools. And that concludes the awards and student recognitions for tonight. And I think for the 2016-2017 school year.
It is now time for the superintendent's report. Superintendent of School, Mr. Isola.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Sanisak, Mr. Board President, and members of the board and senior administration. First, I'd like to begin this evening by taking the opportunity to thank this board for their support in the renewal of my contract and those of my closest colleagues on the administrative team. Your actions tonight mean a lot to me. They represent something that I recognize as those people who work closely with me in my efforts and with my team recognize the work and appreciate that work. And I want you all to know that your work here this evening does not go unnoticed. And I am humbled and proud to remain a servant leader of this school district. And I believe the future is as bright as it ever will possibly be when we keep working collaboratively for our students. So thank you sincerely. I am truly humbled and with great gratitude. I say that this evening. In that vein, I'd like to tell you some of the things that have happened in your great school district over the past few weeks since we last were in session. As you are aware, Mr. Miller has been the board representative for our Future Ready certification process throughout the last few months. We were not only the first school district to commit to the process, but we were the first school district to have all of its school submit the required documentation to obtain that certification. That review process is ongoing, and I am extremely confident that come October, the Howell Township Public Schools will be among a few cherished school districts in our state to receive that certification. So while we've done the hard work, the heavy lifting, and now we hope that the evaluation committee is reviewing that work and finding that we are worthy of such certification. So I'm truly excited about that. Earlier in June, we had the opportunity right here in this room to conduct, I believe it was our 4th annual Knowledge Expo. Once again, the room was packed, the building was packed, parents and community members filled the room, students were so well prepared, and I think, and I know that some of the board members had an opportunity to get over here that evening, I think what was so awesome about the evening was it so aligns with the personalization, the personalized learning movement that we're undergoing. We saw students pursuing learning objectives that they were truly passionate about. And when kids are talking to you about their findings, their research, their learnings, their wonderings, it was nothing short of breathtaking. And I know the individual board members that had the opportunity to share that evening with our students and our staff probably would echo that feeling. And I was certainly proud to be part of that evening, and I thank Mr. Greder and all the folks that put that together. Most recently, we experienced 2 graduations here at Middle School North and down at Middle School South, and I must tell you, the weather tried not to cooperate, but we exercised patience, and we were able to conduct 2 beautiful ceremonies recognizing our most wonderful youngsters in our community, our 8th grade students, as they conclude their time here in our school district and move on to new endeavors over at their high school of choice in many cases, but certainly in the Freehold Regional District as well. And I think greatness awaits them. I think they have the tools, due to our commitments as a board and as a school district, to launch them to high school most prepared. And I know that certainly one board member here this evening celebrated the graduation of her daughter, so Ms. Mangano, congratulations. I'm sure it was a special evening. And I know next year we have a few more, so that's an exciting time, so congratulations. Certainly, there were other things that are happening.
Mr. Could I just, I think I have to say I was here at North and witnessed it, and I got great reports from South, and everybody all together did a great job chipping in, but I got nothing but praise for both of the groups of support staff at both buildings.
Absolutely.
That dried the seats numerous times, but along with parents that chipped in, it was really an amazing evening, parents, staff, and the support staff. So I just think I need to recognize them as well. So thank you.
Well said, sir. It takes all of us, right? So currently, we're undergoing our administrative retreat week. So we are working with our building leadership, our central supervisory staff and leadership team, and we're working on the movement towards, primarily the movement towards creating environments that are personalized for students. And it's really been refreshing and you know, uplifting to work with such great professionals on a daily basis. But traditionally, for the last 6 years or so, I guess it is now, or 5 years or so, our leadership team gets together that last week of June and roll our sleeves up and work together in team settings and do some team building activities. And it's really been a gratifying week so far. I look forward to tomorrow's session as well. So I'm really excited to report to you that we too sharpen the saw now and get prepared for September, and that's already has started. When we look at the graduation and so many year-end events that took place, I can't tell you how pleasing it is to receive numerous letters from various parents across the district that commend the fine staff that are with their kids on a regular basis, commend the building leadership and the school district as a whole for the work that's happening in our buildings on behalf of our children. I took the opportunity to share one letter of a student that graduated high school from a parent that is an employee here, so full disclosure. I asked her permission if I can share that letter. I thought it was a beautiful letter. I know many of you took the time to read that letter, but that, I can't send all the letters to you because sometimes parents are talking about unique individual settings that their kids are in, and those are confidential and private issues that students have thrived through or because of, and I try to keep those communications as private and confidential. But in the case of this particular parent, former parent actually, she was an employee. When I said, would I be able to share the letter? She said, please do. And I know many parents would feel that way, but I just wanted you all to know you had the opportunity to read that letter, and that is representative of so many beautiful letters that are happening each and every school year at the conclusion on behalf of the fine teachers, building leadership, and this team here for the work that they do. So it's certainly nice to see those types of recognitions, and I wanted to share that with you. We had the opportunity, and Mr. Miller, I think, sat in for Mr. Moretti as temporary chair of the advocacy committee, and I know that Mr. Bongiovanni and Mr. Gurman were also in attendance. We were able to, from our May 3rd meeting, the budget hearing, if you remember, there were folks from Equestra community here. We pledged that we'd come out and partner with them in some level of advocacy and begin that conversation. I'm glad to report to you that while it took some time to funnel through the levels of communication within the community, we were able to get out there about a week and a half ago, I guess it is now, and we made a nice presentation, and we built some, what I believe, some good future partnerships with the folks over at Equestra Development. So I wanted the board to know that not only did we say we would go out and work with our friends and community members, we did. And that seems like we're going to create an ongoing relationship with the folks over there. And I guess Mr. Miller or someone may have some remarks when we take it around, but I wanted to certainly let the board and the community know that we really had a nice meeting out there. Unfortunately, it is the time of the board meeting where I report suspensions. During May, which, because we hadn't met since then, there were 25 out-of-school suspensions, and June was followed by 18. The spring is traditionally higher, but certainly those numbers are there, and Mr. Preston will hand that report out for your review. So in addition to that, I would like the board to know that I have received, and it is prior to June 30th, I have received the evaluation of the superintendent from Mr. O'Brien. And once again, I'd like to thank the board for their input and their guidance and the direction that they've offered and the feedback they offered. So just for the, please, Mr. Sanisak, allow the record to reflect that I am in receipt prior to the June 30th requirement
And the
of
next-
my evaluation.
The next step of that will be that if you have any comments, address them, and they will be addressed in executive session at the 12th.
Yes. So if need be, there will be executive session deliberation about that. But that's procedural. So I do want to thank the board for taking the time to complete the evaluation and get it to me in a timely fashion. And with that, sir, that concludes my remarks this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Sanisak, we've
Yes.
already moved our business, or where are we at now?
We would be committee briefs and liaison reports, and then the final comment from the public, and that will conclude our scheduled business this evening.
Now, I know we have several of our chairs absent tonight. Is there any need by the committee surrogate to report out, or can we table that, those missing chairs' reports till next meeting?
I believe we can table them unless there is a policy or education that needs to be.
Is there anything pressing that needs to be brought to the attention of the board, or can we table the reports of the chairs who are away? Okay, would that be, consent board good with that? Thank you. All right, then we will conduct reports starting on my right with Mr. Miller.
The Finance Committee met on this Monday, June 26th. Mr. Sanisak introduced us to Summit Financial again. They provided a history of our current dental contract with Delta Dental. The dental renewal represents a 5% increase in premium on the second year of a 2-year contract. Based on the increased claim experience and the benefits of a stable budget impact, the recommendation was to renew for 5% on the 2017-18 school year. If we hadn't been part of this 2-year contract, we would have been looking at approximately 10% increase in our dental. Since the Finance Committee has met, though, Summit has come back to us and was able to work with Delta Dental to lower that to 4%. So we're going to, you approved tonight, Summit with Delta Dental for a 4% increase instead of the 5%. Mr. Jeff Smith from the HTEA asked us if Summit Financial can come into the schools and do some type of presentation on good dental hygiene for our children. Summit was very accepting of that, so they will be in hopefully the next school year doing some type of good hygiene for dental with the students. Mr. Sanisak also introduced Michael Saba, who is our district broker for property and casualty. A review of the different lines of coverage and any changes was provided to the committee. The committee discussed with Mr. Saba coming back in late July or early August to discuss further additional lines of coverage. Richland Knowles, which is his company, recommended the renewal with the incumbent carrier, who is Utica. The annual increase was $2,425 over the 16-17 school year. Gladfelter was the only other company inclined to make a competitive quote. Their coverage, though, the limits didn't equal what Utica National is actually providing us. So we already approved it, but 2016 was that one. Mr. Sinetti discussed with the committee that our workers' compensation insurance is based on a 3-year experience with New Jersey School Board's insurance group. He stated that out of the competitive quotes, New Jersey School Board's insurance group came back with an increase of approximately $100,000 due to a high non-professional payrolls and increased experience mod from .010 to .8036. In further negotiations and discussions, the quote was reduced by $60,000. one other competitive quote was given, and that was approximately $200,000 higher. We already approved, but it was 6,017 on your agenda. And for our health benefits, Mr. Sinay of Brown & Brown's recommendation was to continue with Horizon as the claim administrator and Southern Life as the stop-loss carrier, as having the best quote and the coverage levels. There was a slight increase to the 16-17 of 0.1%. This is due to the partnership of the unions and the board in making important changes to the health benefits of the program. However, this is going to be our new base, and going forward, we will be subject to whatever the current health care trends are. If we hadn't made these changes, we would have been looking at a much higher increase to the 10 to 20% increases. The committee is recommending, which we already approved, 6,015. The committee reviewed the proposed budget transfers, as you've seen on the agenda, and are recommending those for approval. We approved our April 26 minutes. This year, New Jersey School Board Association's workshop will begin on Monday, October 23rd, and on that Monday, all the counties will be hosting a networking session. The topic is still in the planning stages, but it's going to be about 1:30 on Monday. So if you're planning on a workshop, please come out to that event.
Mr. Miller, thank you. And again, congratulations on the good work of the Finance Committee and Mr. Sanasek, your office, and of course, Superintendent. I was counting up the numbers, and we were getting into some pretty good savings there. And when you also take into effect that through our successful collaboration and partnership with our staff, we were able to sidestep potential increases of millions of dollars in premiums. I think we've been exceptionally diligent and successful in our efforts, and I thank the Finance Committee for their efforts. All right, thank you. Mr. Bongiovanni.
For community, excuse me. Community interaction, I apologize, I did not print it out, so I'm reading it off my phone. Got to print it, but community interaction met on June 13th. As usual, we started out with Mr. Isola giving an update on things that were going on in the district, things that had happened over the last period of time. One of the things that was addressed was the shortened heat day on June 13th, and it was agreed by most of the committee. We really wanted to thank you for looking out for the safety of both the staff and the children in the district, so we recognize that. Thank you very much. We also had a conversation about developing an open house forum. What we'd like to do is try to set something up at some point late in the summer or early fall, having an open house for real estate agents in the town. Frequently, as they're out trying to sell the town, they're getting questions about the taxes and how the taxes of how the district impacts their taxes. We'd like to be able to provide them with as much information as possible so that they're going about their business. They know what's happening, and it might be able to help them sell this fine town and district. The equestrian visit, as you indicated, we did have the meeting. That was discussed that we were going to be having that. That meeting did take place. I would agree with you that I think some great relationships were formed. I think that both groups came well prepared. Certainly the presentation Mr. Sanasak was able to give in terms of the taxes and the tax burden, the tax implications of our budget, but also they were very well prepared in terms of their questions. What could they do to join us in advocacy issues? So, of course, I'm getting a phone call as I'm trying to read this. They did seem to be very anxious to form some type of joint partnership with us in terms of petitioning both the not just the local bodies, but the state bodies as well. So I think that's a good relationship that will continue to happen. We talked about the conversation that has been going on in this board for a while, and that will continue to go on about rebranding our district. And that's very early in the stages still, but that's a conversation that will continue. Ms. Catalano, who happens to be present in the audience tonight, brought up a subject of recent drug-related tragedies in the township and what the committee can do to help address the drug issues in town. We talked about the opportunities that we already do in town in this district with supporting information, giving it out to the children about the dangers of the drug, but we will certainly continue in those efforts, and I'm really happy to see that you're looking to join us in on that effort to see what else we can do. Mr. Isola may want to add to that. I'm not sure if he does at this point.
I think Ms. Catalano's statements were ringing loud with all of us in the room that evening. You know, we've witnessed this tragic situation where drug addiction does not discriminate. The heroin use in not only our community but throughout our county and our neighboring county is really alarming. What I did commit to do is make sure that not only Ms. Catalano but the entire community interaction team is brought up to date on the fine work that our school district is doing, the many partnerships that we do have with healthcare facilities and folks like that are coming out and speaking to parents. But unfortunately, it's a taboo topic, right? We're going to open our doors and fill the room to do education on this topic, but the user doesn't want to come sit and show themselves, right? They're hiding, and so it's a tough audience to break through. But we're going to continue to work on that. And Ms. Corrigan agreed to come to our next community interaction meeting, as we talked about, and give a briefing or an update on that. And then we can begin to partner. We work closely with our municipal alliance, as you know. So there's a lot of efforts in place, but one death to such an epidemic is concerning. So we continue to move forward in that area. Mrs. Calendar, you look like, yep.
We also have the partnership with Barnabas that we've been working on. A new one started this year, but we have the one that had started in Aldrich about a year and a half ago, and that is also a program, the strengthening program, strengthening families program. And
I
the
remember
talk
when they came in and spoke
yeah,
to us.
so we just had the, I believe it was the night of the board meeting in May or June that they had the graduation from the Strengthening Families program that's over at Memorial. And the talk program has been going on for about a year and a half now over at Aldrich School. And both of those programs have really been supportive of our staff and our students and of children's needs, but kind of target some specific populations of kids who could be at risk going forward, and also trying to promote, especially at the program at Aldrich, some leadership on this topic, so that going forward there are those role models and kids that other students can turn to going off into middle school as these things become a little more difficult for them to navigate. So we're very pleased with the partnerships that we have with Barnabas, and they will be continuing. Their five-year grants, the one at Aldrich, and I believe the Strengthening Families one over at Memorial as well. So first year in Memorial was very successful. We did have a lot of families come out. We'd like to get more families, that there is a community involved with it. We'd like to get more families that we had.
Be a good person. You don't gotta hug them.
We're very happy with that. So that's another program that kind of helps target populations of students and make sure that we have the right training right down to the family level, so that we can help strengthen those groups.
And then additionally, not finally, but additionally, because the work is never done in this area, we're real excited about our partnership with the police department and the support that we're confident they're going to be able to lend in that area in terms of being seen as positive role models within the building and doing some regular assemblies on topics such as drug awareness and the roads and paths that leads to. So, the school district is a leader in this area, but certainly to Ms. Catalano's point at our meeting, it's never enough, right? You always got to keep fighting that good fight. So, and I know the board commits to that. So,
Absolutely.
Just one or two other items. One or two other items. It's not necessarily community interaction, but I just want to echo Mr. Isola's comments about the Knowledge Expo. I was one of the board members who was able to attend, and you mentioned the excitement on the children's faces, but so frequently we talk about community. I took real pleasure in seeing the excitement on the parents' faces, seeing how involved they were with their children's projects, and seeing the children be able to explore interests, their passions, where they wanted to go with things that weren't necessarily assignments. So it was really a fun night. I also would like to echo your comments about the graduation and how well it was run, but one of the other people that I'd like to mention is not just the buildings and grounds and everybody else that helped out, but the police force. I mean, Chief Kudrick had his force there in mass. I mean, really helping in terms of making people feel safe, helping to direct traffic, everything that was going on. It's typical for the involvement that the chief has with this district, and would always like to thank him. In fact, I'd even mention, I know it's not necessarily our district, but since we are a community, he made sure that his force was there at Howell High School's graduation, even though it was out of town. They had to have it at Freehold because of the field that's being redone over there, and it was nice to know that he had the Howell force helping out in Freehold for that. So thank you to him for that. I would like to also point out, he wouldn't mention it, but I will. I'd like to mention Mr. Miller's involvement with the county activities once again. As the president of Monmouth County School Boards, look, I've had the opportunity to be involved with the county school boards for many, many years. I've never seen such an active president in terms of the letters he's been sending out, trying to encourage board members throughout the county to attend those meetings, which really benefit all of us, this district and others, in terms of the learning that we can do from each other. So, Al, thank you. We received a very nice letter from Kevin Syak recognizing the resolution that we did as a board, recognizing his promotion to President of the National School Boards Association. It was addressed to Mr. O'Brien. It was a very nice letter. And the last thing I'll say is that for those of us who have had the chance to see her in person or listen to her, within the last 2 weeks, Acting Commissioner Kim Harrington has had the acting title taken away and is now Commissioner Kim Harrington for the Department of Ed. She is an educator first and foremost. I mean, it is really her background. She loves to be with the district. She loves to visit. She's taken a really active role in her position, and I'm sure the rest of the board members who have seen her and know of her work would congratulate her with me. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bongiovanni. Mr. Gurman, I believe
Yes.
you had some comments?
Yes, as the liaison from the board to the Howell Township Education Foundation, I'm glad to report, as many of us, we all know, that we did have our annual Race to Educate. The original date didn't work out, and we had enough warning of bad weather that we had to postpone it, but we did hold it a couple weeks back. And that's really a very exciting event. First of all, it brings the community together. But even more importantly, or just as importantly, it allows us to raise funds that can be used for a wonderful purpose. And I know I've said this in the past, sometimes on the other side of the dais when representing the foundation. But we knew from the time we started the foundation about 10 or 12 years ago that one of the great hallmarks of this district and the strength of this district is the willingness on the part of our faculty, our staff, as well as our administrators, and with the support of the board, to come up with innovative programming. Our teachers know what our students need, and they see all sorts of possibilities. And what we've seen over the years is that our teachers have applied for grants and have come up with fantastic programs that have benefited our students. And so the exciting part here is that the grant letters for this upcoming year have gone out now, and I know going forward in the fall, everybody will be able to be recognized who's being awarded a grant. And that's just very exciting because it's such a benefit for our children. One other point, we can talk about bricks, another funding source, but a great way of recognizing people. One of the events that is annually held by the foundation is the Evening of the Stars. That also is very exciting because one of the things we always talk about is what are the results of all the educational efforts? Well, Evening of the Stars is a thrilling event. If you haven't come to one of those events, please do, because we bring back alums, people who went to our K-8 district and have gone on in every endeavor, have done amazing things. And I could name business, I could name philanthropic areas, could name fashion, acting, military work, serving in communications. We've recognized tremendous people. Well, we now have the bricks. And I imagine most of you have seen, if you walk out the door here, we have some of the bricks, because one of the small ways we could recognize the members of the people who have been recognized as stars is to give them a brick. And now we've been able to put some of those bricks out, and we want to do more. And the other thing that's now happened is that we're able to give retired faculty recognition by putting a brick out there, because of what a difference they've made in the lives of so many of our children. So please, we know that's going to continue to build. And again, it's with the tremendous efforts of our superintendent and also Mr. Sanisek. It was a matter of trying to get the bricks in the right place at the right time. But now that we've gotten it started, it's going to continue. Just a couple other quick points I know about.
Can I just comment right
sure,
there? Because
sure.
I think it's appropriate, and then I'll turn it back to you, sir. Thank you. We did present some of our first retirees down at the Transportation Safety Breakfast that Mr. Sanisak and Mr. O'Brien, I believe Mr. Miller was present as well. Mrs. Calendar certainly makes it a business to get there each and every year. But we were able to present, I think, 2 of the retirees with their actual bricks. And the whole department was so moved by it and so excited. I really think the program where we recognize our retiring staff members and even board members in that capacity is so much more meaningful than a plaque that may or may not get hung on an office wall somewhere in their home. So it kind of memorializes their efforts here in the district, but keeps them in plain sight. So I wanted to report to both the board for their efforts in this endeavor, as well as through the liaison to the foundation. It has been received rather well so far. So we're excited about that. And secondly, sir, I know Mr. Bongiovanni was over at Ardena School and had an opportunity to see the planetarium student designed and built. What an amazing program that was funded through the Ed Foundation. So please, when you report back, let them know that it's alive, well, and thriving. In fact, we will have a video here on the July 12th meeting to highlight that particular program, because we went over and saw it, and the staff there put together a brief video, but you're going to love it. So just a little teaser on that for our next board meeting, sir. Thank you.
If I could just add a couple of other points. We were talking about the meeting with at Equestra, and I must tell you, as a relatively new board member now, I was so proud to sit here when we had the budget presentation, to hear Mr. O'Brien, to hear Mr. Azzola, to hear Mr. Sanisek, to have the dialogue with the community when we had quite a few people here. Because, one, we're particularly proud of all the work that's being done to run this district so efficiently while providing our children with the finest quality education possible. But what impressed me about the budget meeting was that it was so well conceptualized, that was so well described what we're doing. The opportunity was there for the community to see what's going on. And it led, again, to the meeting with Equestra, which will lead to further conversations. And once again, it's part of what this board has done throughout the years and is doing now, of trying to connect with the community. Mr. O'Brien with your work, Mr. Bongiovanni with the Community Interaction Committee, Mr. Miller with the Finance Committee, working, and all the members of the board with the administration, working to try to communicate with the public, with all of our citizens, to know what's going on. So I know that we'll be doing more of that with Equestra, and again, Mr. Bongiovanni's talking about connecting with the real estate community, and this can continue to go on. And just to link it to things such as the Knowledge Expo. And I just echo Mr. Bongiovanni's statements, because I felt the same way. I saw the excitement of parents and families and friends watching so many of our students show what they are doing, how they explore in different areas. And we have so many programs like that. So the one thing I felt when we had our meeting with Equestra, it's the beginning of a connection and a continuation of a connection with other arenas and other citizens in town, is for them to understand how well the district is being run on a financial basis. But what I'm also looking forward to is to have a little more opportunity for them to see the quality of our education, the quality of our staff, the quality of our work, the quality of what's being done here, and what our students are accomplishing. We know when we have our student recognition here, how many students are being recognized on a national and a state level and are doing great work. So it's really, I'm just so pleased to be here and look forward to continuing to get that message out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gervin. Appreciate it. I believe that concludes our current reports tonight.
Mr. O'Brien, I know I said no, I didn't have anything to say, but after listening to several, I just think it's very important, and I'm sure Mr. Isola agrees, to recognize that the HTEA and the HTAC are partnering with the district for that BRIC program, and those awards are coming from the groups together. And there are also some parents recognizing graduates and those kind of things, and students recognizing teachers. But when Mr. Bongiovanni mentioned open house, it reminded me, it's from operations from a past meeting, but once again this summer we are making available a bus outside of transportation for any of the incoming kindergartners or younger students if their parents want to bring them down. The hours are posted on the website, and they can come down and practice the seat belts or find their seat or see what a bus looks like. So that will be going on again during the summer, and the hours are posted.
Good, good, thank you. That's a good point to mention. We'll have to make sure we publicize that to all the incoming students and
Yes.
their families. Terrific. Well, I agree with you. It's always important to recognize our strong collaboration with our staff, the HTAA and the HTAC, and we appreciate their collaboration and support in our efforts to serve our children. So with that, I believe that concludes our reports.
Yes.
And there is no further business this evening. We need a second public comment.
Second public comment. With your permission, sir, whereas the Howell Township Board of Education determines that comments from the public may last 45 minutes and will be conducted in accordance with its bylaw 0164.1, individuals may be limited to 3 minutes each, and the officer, with respect to time and decorum, is the president of the board, Mr. O'Brien. May the floor be open.
Please.
Are there comments at this time? Seeing none, may the floor be closed.
Yes.
That concludes our business for the evening, sir.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien, just, probably should have mentioned it earlier. Thank you to the tech department here, coordinating 3 different off-site board members attending a meeting from more than one continent. Could not have been easy, so thank you for having set that up. That really,
Very nice
it
job,
shows,
absolutely.
it shows what can be done.
Well, we are, after all, 21st century future-ready district.
Future
aren't we?
ready.
There you go. Thank you, and that's a good call, Mr. Bongiovanni. All right, with that, I believe we are waiting for a motion.
Motion to adjourn, sir?
Can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Gurman has a motion?
Seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Bongiovanni.
We are adjourned.
We are adjourned. Everyone get home safe. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful weather, and can I say it, the rest of this beautiful day.